Hi, I'm Thomas from the Department of English, JJ College of Arts and Science, Pudukottai, and it's my pleasure to extend a cheerful welcome to you all. In our previous classes, we discussed the first two acts of the play As You Like It. Today, I would like to make you know the third act of the play. Now, the play again moves to the castle of Duke Frederick. The Duke is in a furious mood because Oliver could not fetch his brother Orlando to him. So Duke orders him to bring Orlando within 12 months of time. In case if Oliver fails to bring Orlando, he will not be allowed to come back to his kingdom. And the Duke further warns him that he will confiscate his lands and property. Oliver, in reply, he had never loved his brother and he intentionally wants to bring him to the Duke. This creates doubts on Oliver and the Duke scolds him and asks him to get out and find his brother Orlando as soon as possible. The scene ends with their departure. Once again, the scene shifts to the forest of Eden. Here, Orlando is seen entering with a paper which he hangs on a tree. He is running from one tree to another, hanging his love verses, and he is engraving his lover name Rosalind on the barks of the trees. All his verses praises the beauty and virtues of Rosalind. He even called Rosalind as the companion of Diana the goddess. Then he moves out from the place. By the time Corain and Touchstone enter and they discuss the comparative value of life in court and the life in the forest. They further discuss some other topics in their conversation and Touchstone shows his superiority by his witty speech. Now, the heroine of Orlando, Rosalind, enters the scene reading one of Orlando's verses. From the east of western Ind, no jewel is like Rosalind, her worth being mounted on the wind. Through all the worlds bears Rosalind, all the pictures fairest lined are but black to Rosalind. Let no face be kept in mind but the fair of Rosalind. In this verse, Orlando praises that no jewel is as pretty as Rosalind. Her worth ride on the wind and are carried over to all the places of the world. Fair painted pictures become ugly when compared to Rosalind. No other face can be remembered than that of beautiful Rosalind. By reading these verses, Touchstone mocking her and teases the lyrics of the verses. Now, Celia enters reading another verses of Orlando that too praises the beauty of Rosalind. Then she asks Corain and Touchstone to leave the place, and so they left the place. Now Celia and Rosalind discuss the verses hanging on the trees. In the meanwhile, Celia asks Rosalind about the writer of these verses, but Rosalind does not have any idea. Later on, Celia reveals her that these verses are written by Rosalind's young charming lover Orlando. On hearing the news, she is very much shocked and surprised. She curiously asks number of questions about him to Celia. By this time, Celia shows the arrival of Orlando with Jax. Orlando and Jax enter the place. So Rosalind and Celia hide them behind the trees to listen their conversation. Jax requests Orlando to stop writing verses of love on the barks of the trees, but Orlando replies to him that he should not spoil his verses by reading them badly. Then Jax advises him to be away from love, but Orlando is not ready to change his mind for the sake of Jax. So Jax depart from the place. Celia and Rosalind comes forward, and Rosalind decides to speak to him like an impudent servant and wants to play with him. So she approaches Orlando and speaks to him. Orlando is impressed by Ganymede's elegant and refined speech. Ganymede, that means Rosalind, says that he has got the skill from his uncle. Here, Ganymede wants to meet the person who spoils the barks of the trees by carving Rosalind and hanging love verses upon the trees and bushes, and wishes to give him some advice because he is badly affected by love. On hearing this, Orlando accepts that he is the person who posted those verses on trees. So Ganymede says that he will cure him by his advice. And so Orlando decides to hear his advice. Now Ganymede gives him an idea that Orlando should come to meet Ganymede every day and call him by the name Rosalind and woo with him so that he can get some confidence and get cured. The twist here is actually the hero Orlando is going to go with the same girl he loves without knowing her. But calling her by the same name, here Shakespeare uses the great trick. Orlando promises to Ganymede of his routine arrival to his cottage and left the place. In this scene, we come to know the love affair of Touchstone towards Adre. He speaks to her in a poetical way, but the poor village girl Adre could not understand the words of Touchstone. In the meanwhile, he mentions that he does not want her to be chaste and beautiful. Jax overhears the words of Touchstone and impressed by his witty ideas. Touchstone decides to marry her with the help of a neighboring village vicar, Sir Oliver Mortext. The vicar comes there in a right time and asking him who is the person is going to give her to Touchstone. But Touchstone informs him that no one is available to give her to him by this time. Only then Jax enters the place and advises Touchstone to marry her in the church by the good priest instead of this trees by this vicar. So Touchstone accepted his advice and left the place. The scene opens with Rosalind and Celia in the forest. Rosalind feels like weeping, but she does not know the cause of her weeping. She is keenly waiting for Orlando, but Orlando has not yet come. So Rosalind laments him as a traitor, a treacherous person. Celia too calls him as a goblet or worm-eaten nut. Then Rosalind comes in support to Orlando and describes him as an honest and pure gentleman. Celia accepts that and informs her that Orlando works as an assistant to Duke Senior, that means the father of Rosalind. So the discussion moves to the Duke. Rosalind mentions that she met his father yesterday as Ganymede and discussed a lot with him. Then she once again moves the topic of Orlando. By this time, Corinne enters and brings the two Ganymede and Scylla as witness for the love of Sylvius with beef. In this scene, Sylvius begging Phoebe to love him, but she does not care for his love and insults him. And so Ganymede intervenes on behalf of Sylvius and scolds Buffet for being so careless and unrelenting. And then Ganymede, that means Rosalind, scolds Sylvius for his love of Buffet because she does not give any respect to his love. Then she advises Buffet to marry Sylvius. By this gallant speech, Buffet falls in love with Ganymede, and Ganymede shocked to see her reaction, and he further asks her to love Sylvius instead of him because he describes himself as a drunkard and he even doesn't like her. So he asked her to think about her life with the shepherd Sylvius. Then Ganymede, Scylla, and Corinne moves out from the place. Now Sylvius once again proposes her, and this time she refuses him politely and asks him to help for loving Ganymede. Sylvius too accepts her request. The scene ends with their departure. Thank you.